Good morning, everyone, and I'm thankful to the organizer and His Holiness. He is not here, but his director indirect designers brought here, and Gaisela Kedarji and Bryce, and all the panelists today, and co-fellow and audience. So, being a part of this program, it is very important to understand harmony and happiness in a broader way, in a sense of cosmos. It is really difficult to understand sometimes how it figure out. So let's start our discussion today. Basically, I'll talk about how harmony somewhat related in astronomy as well. And some people have worked out for that. And later on, we'll talk about the telescopes, which is important machine, because that is the machine which is exploring our cosmos since Galileo Galilei's. And with starting this particular talk, I would like to bring in your notice, the Carl Sagan said, science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. That means it's really very fascinating for us. Science is dealing for external world, as we have been listening since last 2 days. We are trying to explore outer world. Like spirituality is trying to exploring inner world, in the sense that we are trying to understand our own existence in this cosmos. Let's talk about the planetary system. It is well, I think all of you are well familiar with this. We are living, this is our address in the cosmos, we are living in this solar system, in our Milky Way. The important part of this is all the planets, they are revolving around sun, but is there any particular pattern or is there any symmetry? They are revolving, they are having their own period, revolution. Is there any relation? It is very curious to understand, because as we talk about harmony, so it is a harmonious system in our own solar system. So that's the very important part to understand in the initial stage. So who was the man who did it? He was the Kepler. Kepler sought harmonic proportions in the solar system. He calculated, he worked hard to find out in many others, but only he was able to understand that he looked at the speed of the planets at the point where they move fastest and slowest, noting that movement represents a better analog to harmonic vibration than distance. Oh, that's great. He understood that is definitely some relation is here. I need to figure out. And then he worked well, and finally he came up with the idea. Oh, all the planets are moving, but at the same location and the same point, wherever they are fastest or slowest, they are doing repeated behavior. That means some harmony is there, because all the planets are doing. So in our solar system, he came up with the idea. Later on in science, it has become Kepler's third law. And that was the biggest contribution in astronomy to figuring out the speed and the distance among the planets using some mathematics as well. So this is the start of exploration from harmonical point of view. But this is not the only thing. Later on, many astronomers worked hard to find out whether the same behavior is existing in cosmos somewhere else, in our Milky Way or in other Milky Way. So we need a big machine. We need more observational data, because in observational astronomy, where we observe stars, galaxies, and some exotic objects, you need a telescope, finally. I'll talk about later. So, one group of scientists, using the statistics and the data from Kepler, they worked out and they have calculated ratio of their period and the square root of their semi-major axis. And finally, they came up with the note in music, in harmonic behavior, because every planet is moving. But today I'm not having internet connectivity with this slide, otherwise I could explain you how the sound is. It's coming back and going for each individual planets in our solar system and in combination. But you can listen on website, the group of the scientists they are having. So it is interesting. Means they worked out and then find out there is a sound which is completely repeating at the same time, at the same location for each individual planets. And if you are mixing and making some combination, then definitely it may be something new for you. How it is existing in our cosmos, especially in our solar system. So this is all about harmonic relation with the astronomy, and many things are already under exploration by many people in different wavelengths. But why we need big machine? Why we need telescope? We have to explore our cosmos in greater detail. For that we have to build bigger and bigger telescopes. Because it may look for you, this is a technical aspect of science I'm talking about here, but some way or other, it is hardly connected with our purpose in this theme as well. If we are having a bigger machine, we can go deeper into time. Means it's a kind of time machine, and we can understand how our cosmos came into existence with a better understanding. Because we are trying to explore our outer world, like spirituality, more meditation with some two fundamental ideas, mindfulness and alertness. We are exploring our inner world in the same sense that we need to know about what's happening there, or we are waiting for something completely new. So that's why let's have this quote by Carl Sagan: the universe is not required to be in perfect harmony with human ambition. Because this is our ideology, we thought whatever we are thinking, it should exist everywhere. For example, not for all, but nature is mother for all. We may not be knowing each and everything. That's where God is playing crucial role. So we are just trying to understand fraction of knowledge of the cosmos, and there may be multi-universe according to latest theories. So after knowing these things, we cannot commit this behavior or patterns should exist in all aspects of astronomy or astrophysics. So ultimately, there is one important tool and a machine that is crucial to understand, that is telescope. So how do telescopes let us see so far into our space? As I have connected that why it is essential to understand this machine as well in this philosophical discourse where we are talking about harmony and happiness and the dialogue between science and Buddhist scholars. By René Descartes, by taking our senses of sight far beyond the realm of our forebears' imagination, these wonderful instruments, the telescopes, open the way to a deeper and more perfect understanding of nature. That's really great, which cannot be done by our naked eye. So we need a machine. So let's talk about the man who was responsible for bringing this machine into astronomy. And there is a myth, I'll tell you what. News of the telescope's invention spread rapidly through Europe. They were made famous by an Italian astronomer and professor, experimenter named Galileo Galilei. Okay? And this is the telescope which he has designed. Okay? The important part, most of the people across the planet, they think it is invented by Galileo. But it is not invented by Galileo. Galileo has used, and in a different fashion, he did design, build a telescope with increasingly higher magnifying power for his own and to present to his patrons. And he was the first, basically used this, after designing this tube, whatever knowledge he has gathered or he has added, that was the bigger than all the knowledge which was gathered by his predecessors in the field, combinedly. So it was a great contribution by him, and the journey began. The race of designing bigger machines, going back into time. It's a time machine. And why we need that? Simply, we need to understand our idea. Our eyes If we are looking at closer objects, it's fine, no problem for that. If we are looking little further, then it is a matter of discussion whether we are completely able to distinguish the object. If it is farther and farther, then we need telescope. Why? Because our eye retina is such a small, we cannot get larger number of photons to accommodate, to understand exact nature and surface of the objects. In that sense, we need some big machine, means a bigger telescope, means bigger aperture. How it works? You may all aware about this machine. This is a kind of reflector machine. It's a reflector class telescope. You can see the primary mirror is collecting more light than human eyes. And finally, using eyepiece, we are seeing that object in a better, brighter, clearer, and magnified. And another format of telescope is a refractor class, which is more popular in amateur astronomy these days, and somewhat latest reflector as well. But my sense is this: okay, we are having two categories, or we are building bigger machine, but bigger lenses give us a bigger image? Yes. Bigger images in the sense that more deeper understanding about the cosmos, especially in our Milky Way or in our local cluster of galaxies and further deep. Okay? More than 400 years ago, Galileo turned a primitive spyglass toward the sky, and in a just few nights learned more about the unseen heavens, as I told you, which was not seen by others before him. Okay? And now you can understand, from Galileo to till now, I'll show you in another slide, we are increasing aperture of primary mirror. That means we are now concerned about collecting more number of photons. So, as we are progressing, and now in this 21st century, the power of optics has grown 1,000,000-fold. That means we have a good optics, we have a highest computing power, we are having advanced electronic system, so we can design bigger machine as we are seeking information. And whole globe is now more or less covered by the different class of telescopes. Okay, they are on deserts and highest mountain, and the valley is a very famous one, this Arecibo, and in space. So we are observing universe from each of the locations, which is more suitable for astronomy. Okay, these modern giants provide crystal clear views of star galaxies, galaxy billions of light years farther away than anything Galileo ever saw. That means we are probing universe. Okay, each breakthrough in size bringing a new and a deeper understanding. That's so true, because we have been probing our universe in different wavelengths of electromagnetic radiation. Some monks must be knowing, because you are taking courses in science workshop as well. Yeah. So the class of telescope, either from ground or from space, so more or less we have been covering from radio to gamma ray, and in higher energy range we are also covering using some other class of machine that is known as cosmic rays. So we are trying to understand some sort of picture of our own cosmos. Means we are gathering bit of information in each individual wavelength, and we are trying to integrating that and then figuring out. Okay, this slide can show you how bigger the primary mirror is becoming with time. And now you can imagine, this is the latest, biggest telescope on our planet, and from ground, in Grand Canarium, it's a 10.4 meter in diameter so far. So it is the biggest machine. So you can understand people are more serious about it. The latest and the second one, which is upcoming project, that's a GMT, a Giant Magellanic Telescope, and the mirror of this telescope will be 24.5 meter. Means, can you imagine how bigger it is in comparison to the present one? Not. And after that, there is another telescope, which is TMT, 30 meter class telescope. which is upcoming project. By 2020 it will be ready, and it is going to be established or made in Hawaii. Okay, so the same location where currently famous telescopes are sitting, like Keck 1 and Keck 2. Okay, so this is a 30 meter in a diameter. Such a big, means a kind of football field you need to accommodate the whole machine. So we don't know what we will observe, what we are predicting. This is our understanding. We are planning to explore in the deepest, farthest, but we may add some new knowledge with this big machine. And the bigger than this, upcoming, the biggest telescope so far proposed, that is extremely large telescope, 42 meter class. Okay, can you imagine, it's a 39.3, number is written here, that means only segmented the effective diameter, but more or less in general, it's a 42 meter in diameter. That means the bigger than the football field. Okay, so these upcoming 3 big projects is the potential project for all the astronomers, astrophysicists, and cosmologists, because whatever theoretical understanding we are pursuing, or the latest problem in dark matter and dark energy can be resolved by these big machines. So we are hoping for something new. So, definitely they are going to add much more about the supermassive black holes and nature and distribution of dark matter and dark energy, generally, which dominates the universe, as our understanding has reached. As we know, there is only 4% of observable universe and visible universe, what we can say, but the rest of the things in the cosmos is the dark matter and dark energy. Still, we don't know about that in detail. So the journey has to begin, and we need some answers in this area, where this philosophical discussion, our intellectual discourse, the scientific outcomes combinedly can bring some new insights for human understanding about our own cosmos, our own existence in this. And you can see from this slide, now more or less all the countries are bringing their own telescopes. Okay, some way or other, or they are collaborating with other countries. Ultimately, we are probing from most of the locations from our planet. We are covering the whole sphere. So that means we are not leaving any chance. Even though I have not added here, we are also observing from other machines, not like directly this kind of optical machine, like detectors from Antarctica, neutrino observatories. Okay, this is a TMT, as I told you, this is the biggest telescope, and in which India is also partner.
Why are we here? What's the origin?
And this is the biggest one. Just for your glimpse, you can imagine at least what is the size. In the next few seconds, you will see the scale with human comparison. Then you can figure out how big it is. Now you can see here, humans, then cars. Oh, this is the biggest machine so far as proposed. And definitely it is going to add 15 times sharper than Hubble telescopes. So Hubble was such a successful telescope from space, and this ELT can add something completely new. In my concluding remark, I can say our knowledge about the universe is getting advanced with the great help of telescopes from ground and space. But there are still many dots which need to be connected with more profound scientific understanding and intellectual discourse in years to come. And finally, can you guess who is he? Any answers? Science is, at least in part, informed worship. He is none other than Carl Sagan. He strongly believed. And in fact, I'm very much surprised when while I was reading Buraka's brain, he mentioned Bhagavad Gita in his book. He had a better understanding about the different religious perspective of science. So definitely we are on the right track. That means. Thank you.
So you mentioned that this largest telescope will let us see 15 times further than Hubble lets us see. And that ties in with the cosmology part of this conference. What do we expect to see out there beyond Hubble?
Yeah. As we know, from Hubble's diameter, primary diameter is 2.4 around. So the image quality and the deepest Hubble field, which is used for and Hubble, which has added new understanding about different nature of our galaxies. We came to know because of Hubble there are galaxies, they are colliding, and their configuration means their morphology is completely different, which we were not knowing earlier. So this was the biggest understanding which is added by Hubble. And the deepest deep Hubble field, it means you have to focus Hubble telescope in a particular area of sky for a longer time. So it can go deeper and deeper with a longer exposure. So this kind of new knowledge has been added and theoretically proved by this Hubble. But using Hubble, we are not able to see first generation stars or first generation galaxy just after the Big Bang. For knowing those answers, we need a bigger telescope so that we can go back just 14 billion years back into time. And hopefully this big ELT or this TMT may contribute to find out exactly what happened after the re-ionization era. So that may be the new understanding, and it may resolve the biggest mystery so far, dark energy and dark matter.
Tini data kungi gutsai de tangarang so gutsai tang deli yin jubi gutsai de so nanola simji yumi kola data jegetene nang yore la songa tene enza de data janghi chimboji la tini tini ngatsu gutsai ndi nanola tini simji nesa kandu yumi tang simji mnesa kandu yumi de data 하고도 요래스 가세 때마다나 나초 그 고텐디 나노라 되네 심진내사 가세 여바다 심진내 네 마토바게 다 사내라고 간간데 예미 다다 하마고나 되네 고체 겐달라 되네 파테 데바이나 양 심지티 다다다다 예미라고 데 하고도 요래스.
So in your presentation you talk about Milky Way galaxy and other galaxies in the universe, and when we talk about galaxies, we talk about the possibilities of finding life on different planets. So with the invention of this new bigger telescope, is it possible to find, or do you expect to find life on other planets within the Milky Way galaxy and also in other galaxies?
It's a really great question, because while proposing these bigger machines, in the proposal itself, there is a phrases they have included already that is known as a study of extrasolar planets. Already, astronomers are exploring and using other machines which are already in space. For example, Kepler's, another from ground. We are trying to understand: is there any planet in other solar system in our Milky Way, whether it is more or like Earth. Earth-like planet. So the same, one of the objectives of big machines of these ELT or TMT is also, they are also trying to understand, means in future, whether Earth-like planet is existing in our own Milky Way or in other galaxy as well. That is very important and very fundamental question to know, whether any life in any form is existing in elsewhere. I think this is a very important question which need to be answered by these upcoming telescopes as well. And for your kind information, till today, I think potential candidate of extrasolar planets, we have crossed 1600 number. These are not false dots. These are the verified 1600 planets. They are revolving around stars, or some are just randomly moving in our own Milky Way.
And I'd like to add to that. Back in the 1800s, there was a scientist who wrote the 1800s equivalent of Wikipedia. He wrote everything that was known, he thought. And at the end of writing everything that was known to science, he said, "There's only one thing that I'm sure of. We'll never know what the sun is made of." Well, it turned out about 10 years later, spectroscopy was invented. And that's the science of looking at the different wavelengths of light that are given off by different atoms. And it turns out every atom gives out light that tells you what it is. It says, I'm hydrogen, I'm oxygen. And so we looked at the sun and found what it was made of. And now with these larger telescopes, we can look at the atmospheres of these extrasolar planets. And just a few weeks ago, we looked at the atmosphere of one of these planets many light years from the Earth and saw that it had water in the atmosphere. So here's a planet that definitely has water. Now, that doesn't tell us there's life there yet, but by looking with these large telescopes and looking at the atoms and molecules that make up the atmospheres, that might be a way which in our lifetime will have a signal that there is life and these other planets, proof that there's life on the other planets.
So when you said biggest eye in the sky or biggest eye on the planet, so you are talking about the invention or inventing these big telescopes. So what it is to do with promoting happiness on the earth? What is the relationship between inventing a big eye or a machine in the sky and having happiness on the earth?
Oh, great. I was expecting this question. As far as this humankind is concerned, adding new knowledge is always essential and very fundamental root cause for our understanding. This big machine, okay, don't see in that way we are inventing bigger and bigger, we are investing huge cost of huge $1 billion in it. But ultimately, on another very important aspect, we are trying to understand our cosmos in greater detail. That means the outer world. For exploring outer world, we cannot, I don't know this area of expertise, but we cannot meditate, and we cannot, for general public, we cannot figure out what is there outside, in outer galaxies and elsewhere. For knowing or completing the picture, we need some machine which can answer. So that is why we need this new telescope. The largest size is just an idea for putting a title of my talk. That means it is not this the final stage. There may be the bigger one in incoming futures, in a 2 or 3 or 4 decades later. So ultimately, we cannot deny the fact of technological advancement is nothing but it is adding more new knowledge, and this knowledge may help us to understand the broader picture. In some sort, for scientists, they are working in this field, it may be happiness for them to fulfill the biggest question which have been not answered yet by other telescopes. So it may give joy as well. Oh, we now know this was the formation method in first generation star. It can help us to understand the evolution of our universe or expansion as well in a greater sense.
Tata kunge polage tene gutsai tanjite kamla tene simji nesa khande yimendo teso kola zakar yenda ge tene longkhan na tine yang ko simji ne thumen kola tene chin ta phi che thu lapswa tene yenza de ta zakar yenda longkhan na tine tene simji yumi se ate ta pena solong se ando ta te yumi ro te ta go na ona simji yumi ge solong te kan chen lang nge yu si hue je dang tene kong ge jangshi chimbo de zo go ya te nga zo jiti kam te nang na khandu yumi ta te li yin du chubin jiti kam te so la yang khandu yumi ko la hibra se bala nga zo gom nyam le te ne hig mare se ti jun si le te ne jangshi te zo zo go yo re song do wa tene yin zan de ta nga zo nang chu nang lo la ya tene tengi tene gom nyam le te ne meti tene samlan jowa khandu thumi te so chama te gom tene jaba yin tene tene yong re sin chama song yo ro kap ti du le bi cha te son ro tang khandu yimi lo ta sa ke yo mare gom jaba le tene su su gi nyam nyo hine te son ro ba le tene ha ko yo re tene yin za de gom jaba le tene tene jiti nga chun jiti khamdela ya khandu yimi te ta chawtan ro te so song yo re ten za de ten jiti yenda te so yang gom le tene samba te kong par ton ro ne ngara sam nan thong thu sare sang do tene yen za de tenge nang chu nang na song de ya te so ta gom nyam le tene song de ba khata ri ma to jang hi le tene song de jo tene ma ro wa tene yen za ta jang hi le tene ma ton thom ma to pi gi chere ba te chu nang chu nang lo la gom nyam le tene hi de jo mang bu ji yo re ten za de te jangshi rang la mati na ya jite yenda gom nyamle le tena ya hito sare samsan ro tin do ten churang kan use here.
So in your presentation, you talk about the invention of these bigger telescopes to understand more about the cosmos and especially the generation of first stars and first galaxies. If I'm not misunderstood, then you also said that without these telescopes, we won't be able to know this kind of information through meditation. Did you say that? So that's what he has understood. And but from our understanding in Buddhist traditions, in the past Buddhist masters, they have, through their meditational insights, they talked about a larger picture of the cosmos. And we believe that through meditation, by training your mind, you will gain ability to know about the cosmos in a better way. And all the Buddhist masters, they don't have telescopes in the past. So if you and the scientific community believe that in order to know better and the farther away the situation, nature of the farther away cosmos, if you need telescopes, then from our point of view, this is kind of a little bit of contradictory. We believe that there are other means to extend our knowing towards these farther away stars. So how would you describe this kind of contradictory?
I was not meaning this meditation. My meaning scientific meditation in the sense that this kind of machine is really important for general public and scientists. They are not practicing the meditation in very, very deep. And so the larger portion of our human civilization, for them, this picture is still a big mystery. Whether we know, whether we understand, whether we can work out. It may not directly affect in our day-to-day life, but this knowledge is essential as far as knowledge enhancement is concerned. And that's completely true. And I also agree with that. By practicing like earlier masters, and I think in Indian practice as well, we are having a Vedas and Upanishad. In those literature, we were also having detailed understanding of our cosmos, which is practiced or maybe written by that time saints. So in a scientific world, we have to once again scientifically probe and observe those things and experimentally prove whether we are right or wrong. Okay, so this is the one area where we have to work. We can't wait. Otherwise, this experimental discoveries and their application in our society may be not that much faster. And I think in a sense that meditation and practicing and knowing the much deeper cause in great detail, I think we are not denying, but science has to progress for general audience. So that's why it is also necessary.
Thank you very much. We have now one quick comment and then we move to the next speaker.
The observation through telescope is also a meditation. They have been observing it for hours, for months, and looking at this awesome picture of this universe. And after long observation, they may discover one planet or another solar system or another galaxy. Now, this cognitive exposure to their brain, does it affect their attitudinal aspect? Does it increase their psychomotor aspect and the skill? This will be an interesting research frontiers for the neuroscientist.
Thank you.